The rain had started just after sunset, drenching the Nairobi skyline in a misty veil. From the 19th floor of St. Horizon Towers, the city looked like a broken mirror, each raindrop distorting the lights below. Inside the sleek glass-walled office, Amina stood frozen, her breath shallow, her eyes locked on the man sprawled across the blood-stained leather couch, Jabari Otieno, the infamous CEO of Otieno Group, feared by many, admired by more. They had just finished a board meeting that went sour. Accusations, betrayals, and finally gunshots. Jabari had been shot. The security team had vanished. The emergency responders were trapped by a sudden security lockdown that no one could override. Amina, his personal assistant for 2 years, had stayed behind. Partly because she didn't trust anyone else, partly because she had nowhere else to go. He coughed, blood staining the white linen handkerchief she'd pressed to his side. "Looks like this is it, Amina," he whispered, forcing a weak smile. "I always thought I'd die alone. Guess I was wrong." Tears welled up in her eyes. She'd always known him as sharp, unapproachable, always in control. But this was a man who had finally let his guard down. Despite herself, her heart ached. Not just from fear or pity, but something deeper, something she'd buried since the day he'd walked into her life. "You're not dying," she insisted, though her voice trembled. "Help is coming." "No," he said quietly. "I know the people behind this. They don't leave loose ends." She dropped to her knees beside him, her hands shaking as she touched his face. "Why would anyone want you dead? You built everything from scratch. You've helped so many people." He chuckled hoarsely. "Power comes with enemies, Amina. I should have seen it coming." There was silence for a moment, save for the soft rumble of thunder outside. Then, as if possessed by an unseen force, she leaned down and kissed him. It was tender, desperate, like pouring years of unspoken feelings into a single act of defiance against fate. When she pulled back, his eyes were wide with surprise. "If this is the end," she said, her voice cracking, "then I won't let you go without knowing how much you mattered. You weren't just my boss, Jabari. I loved you. I still do." His fingers brushed her cheek, and in that fragile moment something changed. The cold exterior of the CEO melted away, revealing the man beneath, a man who had battled enemies, won empires, and now, in his final hour, had found love. She sat with him, whispering memories, her head against his chest. The rain became a lullaby. The world outside didn't exist. But in the stillness, neither of them noticed that the flickering security light had turned green. The soft hum of electricity returning to the building broke the silence. Amina blinked, lifting her head from Jabari's chest. The green security light above the door flickered steadily. Power was back. But they were still alone, still stranded 19 floors above the city, with a man barely clinging to life and a woman too afraid to leave him. Jabari stirred. "Did you feel that?" he murmured. Amina nodded, heart racing. "Power's back. Maybe someone can get in now. Hold on, Jabari. Please." He smiled faintly, brushing her wrist with trembling fingers. "You kissed me." She flushed, nodding, unsure what to say. It wasn't the moment to explain, but the truth was out there, hanging between them like a fragile thread. The emergency line crackled to life. She scrambled to the desk phone, dialing the internal security line. To her relief, a voice answered. A confused, weary operator who informed her the lockdown had been lifted. Paramedics were on their way. But Amina hesitated. Something in Jabari's eyes held her there. Fear. Resignation. "I don't want to go to a hospital," he whispered. "They'll finish what they started there." "What are you saying?" "There's someone on the inside. Someone I trusted. This wasn't a robbery. It was a message." The words hung in the air. Amina felt a chill ripple down her spine. Someone in the boardroom had betrayed him. The same people who shook his hand hours ago might have ordered his death. She moved fast, grabbing his keys, accessing the private suite he'd hidden just behind the office wall, a luxury resting chamber only a few knew about. Inside was a plush bed, low light, and a safe filled with emergency supplies, including basic medical kits. Gently, she helped him to the bed. He winced with every step but managed to stay conscious. She cleaned the wound, whispered words of comfort, held his hand when the pain became unbearable. "I should have told you sooner," he said, eyes fluttering open after a while. "You were the only one who never lied to me. Everyone else wanted something. But you were always just Amina. Honest, strong, beautiful." Tears slid silently down her cheeks. That night, something unspoken bloomed into reality. They shared stories, regrets, laughter in between pain. As the rain slowed to a drizzle outside, they found solace in each other's arms. Not because it was the end, but because somehow in that moment, they both wanted to live for something more. Later, as the city dozed under a quiet dawn, they made love, tenderly, slowly, both aware that the world outside was still dangerous, but inside that suite they were safe just for now. It wasn't goodbye anymore. It was the start of something neither of them had dared imagine. But morning was coming. And with it, the truth. The soft rays of dawn filtered through the blinds, casting golden patterns on the walls of the secret suite. Amina woke to the rhythmic sound of breathing beside her. Slow, steady. Jabari was alive. His eyes opened, and when they met hers, a quiet smile touched his lips. "Still here," he whispered. "You made it through the night," she said, brushing a hand through his hair. "You're stronger than they thought." Jabari sat up slowly, his side still aching, but the worst had passed. They shared a silent moment, knowing nothing would ever be the same again. But reality pressed at the edges of that peace. The betrayal, the boardroom bullets, the enemy that still walked free. They had no time to waste. Amina moved with purpose now. She dug into the emergency files Jabari had stored in his suite. Hidden documents, recordings, even a backup drive Jabari had told no one about. As he guided her through the names and details, a chilling picture emerged. "I always suspected Nyaga," he said, grimacing as he buttoned a fresh shirt. "He's been trying to push me out for months. But I didn't think he'd try to kill me. Nyaga, the company's CEO. Publicly charming, privately ruthless. He'd lured foreign investors into shady dealings behind Jabari's back. When Jabari found out and threatened to expose him, the plan was clear. Eliminate the threat, seize the empire. But Jabari had survived. And with Amina by his side, he wasn't about to let it go. By midday, Jabari made a dramatic reappearance at Otieno Group headquarters, bandaged but unbroken. Whispers echoed through the corridors like wildfire. A ghost had returned and the boardroom. Tension cut through the air as he walked in unannounced. Nyaga stood mid-presentation, face paling at the sight of the man he believed dead. "Miss me?" Jabari asked, his voice calm, deadly. Amina followed with a tablet in hand, playing audio files that captured Nyaga's covert conversations, his bribes, his orders to silence the boss before he ruins everything. Gasps filled the room. Security escorted Nyaga out as Jabari remained standing, the king who had risen from the ashes. The board, once divided, now looked at him with renewed awe and fear. Later that evening, in the quiet of his private villa overlooking the Nairobi skyline, Jabari stood on the balcony with Amina beside him. The city shimmered, but his eyes were only on her. "You saved me," he said softly. "Not just my life, Amina. You saved me." She leaned into him, smiling. "And you gave me a reason to believe in love again." Under the twilight sky they kissed, not as a goodbye but as a promise. In the world of betrayal, ambition, and near death, they had found something rare, something worth protecting. They had found each other.